Joining me now is John Black. He's the CEO of Aldebaran Resources. Thanks for coming in, sir.
Thank you, Mark.
Very nice to see you.
Yeah.
So let's get into this. You're developing the ALDE project in Argentina, and you call this one of the largest undeveloped gold, copper projects in the world. So could you give us a brief overview?
Yeah, what we have is an option to earn into an 80% interest in the ALDE project. It's a project that has been previously drilled by other companies. And so we started with a large amount of drilling and a large resource to begin with, but we believe it'll become even larger. When I mention a large resource, we currently have about 1.2 billion tons of measured and indicated resource, so resource at a fairly confident category that has an average grade of just slightly less than 0.5% copper with a little bit of gold and silver associated with it. An additional 200 million tons of mineralization at a similar grade, so nearly 1.4 billion tons of copper mineralization, large deposit already, but we have substantial reason to believe it will become even larger with this year's drill campaign.
They're big numbers. So what are the goals with the drill campaign, and then what's the plan to eventually get to a resource estimate?
When we acquired the project, as I mentioned, there was quite a bit of drilling and the deposit appeared to be well known, but we realized there was a lot of fundamental work that hadn't been done. Good geologic mapping, systematic geochemical data sets, deep looking geophysical surveys. And so we spent a lot of the last year putting those data sets together. These are the type of data sets that large companies like to see to thoroughly explore a district. And we came up with some very pleasant surprises out of this. One of the most notable one was that with a new deep looking 3D geophysical survey technology that's relatively new, allows us to see deeper in the systems. We've identified a large conductivity anomaly that's remarkably coincident with a known mineralization, but remains largely untested for a large portion of the anomaly. It's indicating that we may have only found a portion of the deposit to date. So this year's drill campaign will be to systematically test that anomaly and see if it truly is, if we have a chance to remarkably increase the size of the deposit.
So there's been a lot of deal activity in Argentina. Seems like a pretty hot country right now. You mentioned large players like large resources. So you've got Lundin as a neighbor, you've got VRIC as a neighbor. How would you describe the environment in Argentina right now?
Right now, Argentina, specifically in San Juan province, where we're at, is one of the hottest points for copper exploration in the world at this point. It's partly because the Argentine Andes are remarkably well endowed in mineralization, both copper and gold, just like it is in Chile to the west, but relatively underexplored. And so there's now an opportunity to develop new projects or further develop projects that have been known and possibly get those into production. And because of that, in San Juan alone, there are over 5 large copper systems that are being very actively explored, one by us and by our peers in other projects. So it's an exciting place. The local government's strongly encouraging us to move forward. Easy place to work. Our challenges are, how do you find drill rigs? How do you find competent drillers to drill forward? So it's a pretty competitive environment right now.
Sure. Now, I'm kind of bearing the lead here, but you and your team back in the day, not that long ago, sold Antares to First Quantum for $650 million. So is that the plan this time around as well? Build out the resource, sell to a larger player, or do you want to get to production eventually? Or is everything on the table?
Everything's on the table,
yeah.
But our strategy is to identify projects that have this potential to be very large copper or copper gold deposits, to drill those out and show the size, and to de-risk them through approximately a pre-feasibility stage. And then our preferred exit strategy is to monetize the project by selling it to a major miner at that point in time. We're not miners, that's not our skill set. And it requires a different amount of capital, a different amount of patience to put something into production. So we try to stay on that really steep value add point of the Lassonde curve between discovery and pre-fees approximately, and then ideally monetize it. Now, having said that, it doesn't mean you take shortcuts. We do everything just like we will build the mine ourselves, because to make it attractive for someone to buy, it has to be explored carefully and prepared carefully, so it's an attractive project for someone to pick up.
Well, it makes a lot of sense, and it's refreshing that you're very direct about what your plans are. So thanks for coming by, and we'll see you again.
Thank you, Mark.
All right, John Black, CEO of Aldebaran Resources.